Are investors unloading their properties right now? Our team did a bit of a market study recently looking at the different types of occupancy for the active inventory out there to help answer this question, and the results are quite shocking. So in today's video, we are going to look at what percentage of current inventory is actually investor owned, and also what does this mean for buyers, what does this mean for sellers, and how is this going to impact the market? As always, if you get any value out of this video or like this kind of content, consider subscribing to our channel. And if you're looking to buy, sell, or invest in the Burlington, Hamilton, and surrounding areas, you can click the link below and book a call directly with me and my team. So we're going to jump right in and look at the stats that our team was looking at during this market analysis. Now, we wanted to look at different types of occupancy for all the inventory that's currently active in Burlington. And the assumption here is owner-occupied are obviously people selling their primary residence, but tenanted properties and vacant properties, we can assume the majority, maybe 90-95%, are actually investors or secondary rental properties. So we looked at the total amount of listings, and this is all types of properties. We have 500 listings in Burlington right now. 67% were owner-occupied, 7% are tenant-occupied, and 25% are actually vacant. So a quarter of our inventory in Burlington right now is sitting vacant. Now, to put this into perspective, in a typical year, looking back about 3-4 years, 75 to 80% of sales happening are typically owner, and less than 20, around 18%, are typically vacant. So we have higher levels of vacant properties and tenanted properties. And because of that, we can assume that more properties being sold right now are actually investor owned. Now we're going to break this down into property types really quickly. We're going to look first at detached. Now, typically there's not as many detached homes that are investment properties in most markets. So we see 77% owner, very low level of tenant, and a typical level of vacant properties. Now, when we look at townhomes and condos, this is where the number really jumps up. Right now, 57% of townhomes listed are owner occupied, only 1% are tenanted, and 37% are vacant. So over a third of our townhouse inventory on the market is actually sitting vacant. And finally, looking at condos, 50% are owner occupied, 12% are tenanted, and 37% are vacant. So based on our assumptions here, we can assume that about 50%, maybe less, 40 to 45%, are actually investor owned properties that are condos that are either tenanted right now or sitting vacant. Now, what does this mean for buyers? Well, if you're in the market right now looking to buy, there's definitely more opportunity right now than we've seen in the past. Not only is there higher levels of inventory compared to past months and past years, but also a lot of that inventory is either sitting vacant or sitting tenanted and assumably investor owned. Now, why does that pose an opportunity? Well, if a property is sitting vacant and an investor is selling it because the costs of carrying have gone up due to interest rates, then they're more likely to take a lower price rather than holding that vacant property because it's costing them to hold it every month. Investors are also less emotional when it comes to selling a property and likely to take a little bit more of a price cut than a primary homeowner. Now, on the other hand, what does this mean for sellers? Well, unfortunately, it's not as positive. Like I mentioned, investors are less emotional when it comes to selling their properties compared to a primary residence owner or a family, for example. And if they're offloading a vacant property, they might be inclined to sell at a slightly lower price so they can stop making monthly payments. And unfortunately, as a seller, these are the other listings that you're competing against, and they're the listings that buyers are going to be looking at when out shopping for homes. So in a sense, the investor properties that are being sold right now can actually contribute to the downward pressure on pricing that we're currently seeing in the market. Now, what impact does this have on the market? Well, we know there's high levels of inventory right now, and there's also a lot of motivated sellers out there, especially when you look at 25% of the inventory is sitting vacant right now, or 37% when it comes to townhomes or condos. So for buyers, there's definitely a lot of options out there, and there's a lot of good opportunities out there in the market right now. And for sellers, you want to make sure your property is presented well, marketed well, and most importantly, priced well in this type of market. Thanks so much for watching. Have a great day, and we'll talk to you soon.